everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan, and as you can tell from the sound of my voice, we've got an Old World update. In fact, they're calling it an Old World Development Diary, so this is actually going to be quite good. Exploring the war-torn lands of the world that was. Let's ignore that silly name at the end there. But they've got some news. Let's talk. I'm really excited. So they've got Rod Alderman, which is one of the developers for the Warhammer studio, and they're going into some details regarding, well, the Empire and a few different things, including even Marienburg a little bit too, so this is going to be quite interesting. It's a big lore update too, and here is some interesting info. So Rob says, we've hinted at the unprecedented amount of work that has gone into this new game and its setting in candlelit scenery behind the great oaken doors of the Warhammer studio. Yeah, okay. The Old World team has dedicated countless hours to research and playtesting. Our goal was to create a game that captures the best elements of all the editions of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, but at the same time providing new, exciting rules and fresh challenges to overcome. Okay, cool. See, this is something I've been really excited about when they said it a while back. The fact that they're going to do a lot of going through all the editions. I think they said edition 3 all the way up to 8th edition, mostly because 1 and 2 was more of a roleplay thing. But this is really exciting. We've got some artwork here on the Flagellants too, which looks absolutely awesome. I am so happy. It kind of reminds me of box art. It really kind of reminds me of box art. And I'm really hoping it's box art, because those models actually did age fairly well. Let's go into some details regarding the Old World. One of the most important aspects of Warhammer the Old World is the setting itself. Obviously, this is the world that was, a world of legend destroyed by the machinations of the ruinous powers of chaos at the culmination of the end times, an event that doomed the denizens of the Old World to oblivion and heralded the birth of the mortal realms in the Age of Sigmar. It is important to remember, though, that even though that the setting is returning, these events still happened and the Old World was destroyed. The end times had long been foreshadowed in the background of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Yeah, we get that. No offense, Games Workshop, but we don't need you pouring salt in the wounds. I'm still excited about this, but yeah, we get it. Nobody cares. Look, Warhammer Fantasy fans don't care. Hell, I enjoy Age of Sigmar. A lot of them enjoy Age of Sigmar. If you're using that comment to talk about the people who go, oh, Warhammer Age of Sigmar sucks on Twitter and stuff, those are trolls. Don't acknowledge them. They don't matter. Anyways, let's carry on going forward, right? Some new artwork again. This is definitely going to be box art, right? Like, those are Empire Huntsmen. Those are going to be some militia. Like, this is definitely going to be some sort of box art, and I'm absolutely loving it. Like, they look super cool. Ulrichian colors, obviously, you know, Middenheim and so on. The blue and white has obviously been a gorgeous paint style. Anytime that it's actually been seen, it's very hard to paint, but then again, white paint, very difficult. Ooh, we got some setting confirmation, the Great War Against Chaos. With the end of the world well documented, the design team wanted to explore the earlier history of the Old World in more depth, to examine events in the history of Warhammer in more detail than ever before. But which part of its long and storied history should they focus on? Go too far back in time, the War of the Beard, or the time of Sigmar, for example? And the setting would have become unfamiliar. Not so much, but I get what they mean, yeah. This led us to the events known to the fans of the Old World as the Great War Against Chaos and the Siege of Prague. Yes! Okay, so 2 centuries before the end times, more precisely, we decided to look into the decades prior to the legendary Old World changing event. In those years, before the Chaos Lord ASAVAR KULL led his armies south against the nations of men and dwarves, the Empire of Man was not the unified nation that bravely faced the armies of Archaon that the players of Warhammer Fantasy Battle will remember. Instead, it was deeply divided and ravaged by war, following the long centuries without the unifying presence of a single emperor. Okay, so this is really important, because they always kind of hinted at this, but this is outright confirmation. ASAVAR KULL is perhaps the freaking coolest ever chosen they've ever had. I'm just so excited, because this is going to mean so many big lore dumps here. Like, now that we know it's the Great War Against Chaos, we can actually talk about so much stuff. But yeah, don't you worry, we're going to do a lot of videos about this. I am just stupidly excited. Anyways, let's move on a little bit. This is really cool artwork on a Imperial Greatsword unit, again with the blue and white colors. Big fan. Honestly, I've tried to paint it in this scheme before. It's not easy, like I've said, but very, very pretty. Very, very cool. And again, this looks like box art. Okay, some more lore information here with Anarchy in the Empire. Following the death of the famed Emperor Mandred von Selt, the Elector Counts were unable to decide upon a successor, and when the Countess of Talabecland and the Count of Stirland mobilized their armies to claim the imperial throne by force, the lands of the Empire fell into civil war. In the centuries that followed, numerous claimants to the imperial throne emerged, deepening the divides between the provinces of the Empire, prolonging the civil war. Thus, at the time Warhammer the Old World is set, in the years before the Siege of Prague, the Empire stands divided, riven by intrigue and beset by internecine war. Of the many provinces that once formed the Empire, 4 stand tall, their mighty rulers pressing their claim for the imperial throne and hoping to reunify the fractured realm. Okay, so far so good. Yeah, this is going to be a big part of the setting. I'm already thinking of loads of things that we can talk about in future videos. I'm so freaking excited. Okay, so the first one is the Baronry of the Westerland, right? And this is basically Marienburg. Ruled by Elsef Margarita, Westerland is a wealthy province, its merchant lords grown fat on the trade that flows through Marienburg's vast harbours. So this is a big part. This is basically at the point of the war where Marienburg said, hey, we want to become emperor too. Oh, this is really, really, really cool. The Grand County of Osterland rules from the great city of Middenheim by Count Sigismund Ulrich. Osterland is home to the wolf emperors of the north, fierce devotees of Ulrich. So if you're looking for wolves and strong type of warriors, these are the ones that you're going to really want to get into. It's going to be super, super cool. I'm super excited about this, especially as we're just getting more detail about the Civil War itself. The Principality of Reichland, occupying the heartland of Sigmar's empire. The Reichland is ruled by the pious Prince Wilhelm I of Altdorf, a devout servant of the empire's patron deity. This is going to be the more casual empire that you know, as a lot of empire's provinces are very, very different, but the one that you know the most, either through the usual old-school Warhammer Fantasy armies, or even Total War Warhammer, this is definitely the one that is going to be the one that you're more familiar with. And finally, the Grand Duchy of Talabek, the largest and most culturally diverse of the 4 provinces. Talabek is ruled from the great walled city of Talabheim by the Duke Ludwig. So this one's going to be quite interesting, as these guys are a little bit more druidic. A lot of older lore kind of pointed them to being more attuned to the older faiths, very similar to like Albion's type of truthsayers and so on, but we're going to have really big detailed videos regarding this soon, don't you worry about that. Okay, now we have a little bit more detail here. So in Warhammer the Old World, we discover an empire weakened by centuries of civil war, vulnerable to the ever-present threat posed by the rampaging armies of invaders. Beastmen Brayherd surge from the deep forests, burning and defiling all that stands before them. Okay, so they basically confirmed the Beastmen now, even without actually just doing like a faction focus on them. I would love to see a faction focus though. From the moors and mountains come roving bands of orcs and goblins, looting and pillaging. Awesome. While in distant and forgotten lands, ancient kings sit upon crumbling thrones, planning the reconquest of lands of the living. Yet beyond these present threats looms the spectre of something far greater, the armies of ASAVAR KULL amassing in the north. Before we continue with the next part, I just can't wait to see an ASAVAR KULL model. Oh my god. Alright, yeah, I know. Fanboy moment. Okay, let's continue. While we know that the Empire would ultimately unify under the leadership of the great Magnus the Pious and turn back the armies of chaos, at what cost will this unity come? There are many stories to tell of the years before the Great War against Chaos, and the desperate ruination of the end times. So are we going to the end times? Is this just going to continue all the way? Truly, Warhammer the Old World promises to reveal much about the world that was, in ways sure to captivate fans of the Old World, old and young. Dude, I am so freaking excited. Like, this is freaking massive. While we already kind of knew these things, because when we look at the maps we can more or less pinpoint what was happening, the fact that things are getting outright confirmed now, this is going to be super, super big. And the fact that they're already confirming these big events makes me lead to believe that we're going to see a lot of news updates as time progresses. I'm still hoping for a release this year. I'm really hoping for it. So there's so much that needs to be discussed. There's so much that I just really can't wait to see, to hear about. I want to see armies. I want to see miniatures. I want to see loads of stuff. I'm pretty sure that those pictures that we've seen are basically just, you know, box art. But I don't know. I'm super excited. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let's start a bit of this discussion. I've got loads of ideas in my head right now, and I really want to I want to start planning ahead. See you guys in just a little bit.